Yep, I got it.
All right.
Oh, here it is.
So you can see the participants, right, Kevin?
Yeah.
I'm starting to get everyone's
All right.
phone number down.
It's 22.
Randy, we good? Can we start?
It's up. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
We're live. You go ahead. Whatever you want to do.
All right, cool. Thank you, sir. 6 o'clock, call the meeting to order. Start with the roll call. Alderman Donahue is here. Alderman Bilotto.
Here.
Alderman Alexander.
Here.
Alderman Klinker. No Jim. All right. Alderman Johnson. Dex, are you there? No. All right. No Alderman.
Yeah, Dexter is there.
Dexter's here. All right. Dexter's here. All right. Approval of the minutes. I sent them out a couple hours ago. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion, Bilotto.
Alderman Bilotto. Is there a second?
Why are you reading before the news?
I second.
All right. Thank you. Motion and second. All in favor of approving the minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays, say nay. The ayes have it. Motion's carried. Citizen comment. I received one from Carol DePace Screen. It says, due to the severe flooding history on Longwood Street, Eric Alvarez, Robinson Engineering, and Jim Poster, Public Works Director, should have never even ever considered asphalt or concrete the proper or correct materials for the Longwood Grant Project. Effective action plan must be implemented without delay to address the 1.5 M Longwood Grant Project. Permeable surfaces, also known as porous or pervious surfaces, allow water to percolate into the soil to filter out pollutants and recharge the water table. Impermeable/impervious surfaces are solid surfaces that don't allow water to penetrate, forcing its runoff. What are the potential benefits of permeable pavement? Permeable pavements help reestablish a more natural hydrological balance and reduce runoff volume by trapping and slowly releasing precipitation into the ground instead of allowing it to flow into the storm drains and out to receiving waters as effluent. Permeable pavement surfaces typically include pervious concrete, porous asphalt, paving stones, and interlocking pavers. Unlike traditional impervious paving materials, permeable paving systems allow stormwater to percolate and infiltrate through the pavement and into the aggregate layers and/or soil below. Pervious concrete is a strong and highly durable material. Parking areas properly designed and constructed will last 20 to 40 years with little or no maintenance. Because of the extra materials and time required for these installations, permeable paving is considered more expensive than traditional paving, typically about 20% more expensive. However, that is only the material and installation cost. To reduce flooding, all Blue Island roadway surfacing projects should be with permeable materials. It is clear the least amount of money is going into materials in any contracts, so that the greatest amount of money goes into pockets. All right, thank you, Ms. Green. Moving along.
Kevin, there's one other comment here. Who is the last four, 1022?
That's me, Randy. Carey.
Okay, thank you.
And what were you saying, Randy? I'm sorry.
I just wanted to make sure we got the right people in the room here.
All right. Okay. Moving on. Under finance business, we have one item under old business. It's the revenue analysis. Is Topeka, was she on the line to go over her revenue analysis from that she sent us last week?
Yes, I'm here, Alderman. Hi, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. Did you just want to go over what you sent and kind of explain just in some detail of what's going on?
Yeah, sure. So I conducted the revenue analysis. It was for educational purposes for myself too, so I could just kind of understand the type of economy that Blue Island is in. That way I can just understand the revenue sources a little bit better, so I can understand if, the type of impact that the pandemic would have. In order to do that, so the first part of my report kind of talks about how I kind of went through this approach. So I identified our key revenue sources, and how I did that was, if the revenue was around $300,000 or above, I considered that as key because that's roughly 10% of our total revenue balance. And then once I got a good list of key revenue sources, I took a look at the type of economy that those kind of fell in. So are these items inelastic, meaning they're very sensitive to market swings, or are they inelastic, meaning they are not sensitive to market swings, or are they elastic, meaning they kind of fluctuate? And I categorize them in that manner to kind of help me see how things will be laid out. And then once I did that, I did a little bit more research on the revenue streams to see what economists were kind of saying, what the projected losses were for those revenue streams. And I used that to kind of compile the report. And so once I got that information, I went and I pulled the real-time data that we had from our general ledger, Smart Fusion, and I just applied the forecasted percentages to the annual revenues for the year. So I looked at it for 2017, 2018, 2019 real-time data, and whatever economists were projecting, I took the consensus from that, and I applied the projected losses to those. So fortunately for Blue Island right now, our key revenue sources are tied to inelastic items like sewer maintenance, water sales. Those are where our highest dollar amounts of revenue sources come from. And I don't see those fluctuating much in the short term. We might see a decline on the commercial consumer side because businesses were closed, but we also might see a spike because people are at home more. Right now, I just think it's a little too early to tell. What I'm really concerned about is not necessarily the short term, because we've already had a very great conversation about budget reductions, and all the department heads, I got in on that conversation, and they've been very proactive in managing their budgets, and myself as well. I'm working with them and making sure they live into the budget reductions that they propose to you all. But what I'm really concerned about is when we get to like 12 to 18 months from now, when property taxes begin to be reassessed, and that's when we'll start to see an impact. And also, some of our other key revenue sources, data is not realized right now. Some of it is on a 2 to 3 month lag. So we don't really know what the impact is. All we are really doing is projecting. So I still kind of feel like it's a little bit too early to tell, but I still think this is a good data point for us to start with, because we can kind of start to talk about how we might want to start mitigating some of the potential losses. So my overall assessment of the Blue Island economy was that it was inelastic, meaning that most of our, like I mentioned, most of our revenue sources are tied to inelastic items that don't fluctuate. But I am concerned for some of the other areas like gaming tax, because I heard that they have suspended that indefinitely. So I'm not entirely sure when that's going to be resumed. So if anyone has any new updates on that for me, that would be great. And also state income tax is another one that's causing me concern, just because wages have gone down, people aren't working as much. And so, the collections that we would get back from that are going to be significantly less. But at one point I did want to bring out to the committee is that we've been working with Paycom. That's our third-party vendor that helps us with our payroll processing. And they worked with us to apply the FFCRA credit, which is the Federal Coronavirus Relief Act. And what that is that when we send out the cash statement requirement sheet to you all, you can actually see the credit that's being applied back to the city of Blue Island immediately. So it's just basically like an offset. So it's not necessarily like we're spending the money, then we have to claim it back at the end of the year. What we're doing is it's like a tax credit offset to us that's available to us immediately. So that's just kind of like the gist of the report. So did anyone have any questions?
I don't. Any questions, Fred or Annette or Dex?
Alderman Bilotto here. I think the gaming tax, we can just write that off that we're not going to collect that this year. We're going to see a lot more next month. I think roughly Topeka wasn't like 800 grand last year or so.
Yes,
And,
yes, it was a significant amount. And so I'm really concerned about that one because we're still seeing money coming in for the gaming tax, but probably come August or July, we won't see it anymore because the way that the gaming tax is collected, you know, it's in arrears. So
They shut it off in March. So at the first quarter, we're going to be done the rest of the year. We're not going to collect anything. I don't think it's going to reopen.
Well, they're going, the machines are going back on Friday. So
Yeah, we won't.
But we lost out all of April, all of May.
Yeah, the second quarter is dead completely. Probably part of the third quarter. It would be significantly less than 800 grand is my point.
Sure.
yes. So has anyone heard any, because I heard when I was listening to the Cook County president today, she was saying that it was suspended indefinitely. I hadn't heard anything about it being resumed.
I just know they're going back on Friday, so I would assume that they would start collecting the tax on them again.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I
find
heard.
out.
That's what I heard too, Kevin. I mean, Chairman, because they're going to phase 4 Friday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll find out though what the collection of taxes, but I'm sure they will be. All right. Any other questions?
Okay.
Keep moving. No? All right. Thank you, Topeka. That was very thorough and a lot of information. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right. Under new business, we have Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity grant closeout.
So I don't know if Mark Miller is on the line, but
Yeah,
what
I'm here.
that is, okay, great.
Yeah, that grant was issued originally in 2015 to cover expenses to rebuild 121st Place right by the water tower over there. And very, very shortly after we were getting ready to start, Governor Rauner put the brakes on it. And annually, they just asked us to just keep it open, hoping that money would eventually come into it. And long story short, it did not. And we were asked last month to close this and return whatever unspent funds there were, along with interest.
Okay.
So we did spend. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
I was going to say we did spend at one point. We spent $18,843.75 on engineering. That came out of 2 separate accounts. I believe both were related to general fund. When this grant does close out, they'll release that money to us, and we can reimburse the 2 funds that money came out of. The remaining balance needs to go to them, and I had that balance in a cover letter. It was $44,478.33. It's money they put in the city's account to begin with, so they're basically asking for their money to be returned.
Okay. Any questions?
Yes, this is Alderman Johnson. So therefore, the tank that's off 141st Street will still be pretty much in need of repair. And is there any future or near future plans for it to be repaired?
Yeah, it goes below the surface, so it's not really even a grind off. It's a lot of, part of that street is failing. Part of the water main, I believe, is also failing. Eric, if you're online, you might be able to help on that. But that's where I think the real expense comes in.
Sure. This is Eric Alvarez, Alderman Johnson. Yeah, to answer your question, that the DCO grant project they're talking about is for the underground water main replacement and street reconstruction of 121st Place. Not the Highland tank painting.
All right.
Yeah,
Any other
that's for the road
questions?
itself originally.
Right, I understand. So I'm just saying, is it going to be done in the near future?
All depends on if we can find some funding. It hasn't gone on the back burner. It's just hard to get that kind of funding.
Sure, and I can answer also. We have a 5-year project planning with the IEPA. Due to financial considerations, we didn't move forward with that last year. But our project plan is valid for 5 years, and that included a loan application to repaint the tank. Sorry, that's the Thornton tank, not the Highland.
Right, right. But what about the underground pipes, the sewage? You know, the things that could cause a problem with supply as well.
Alderman Johnson, that 121st place in Highland Avenue underground repairs was also part of that project plan. Unfortunately, the city wasn't financially feasible to move forward with it last year, but we've got a 5-year window where that project plan is valid, and that's part of that low interest loan application. So it's just waiting on finance, basically, I guess you'd say.
All right. Anything else regarding this? No. Is there a motion to approve this item, the grant closeout?
I'll make a motion, Bilotto.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Alderman Alexander with the second. All right. All in favor of approving this item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
All right, the ayes. All right. 3 ayes and 1 nay. The ayes have it. Motion's carried. Next, thank you, Mark Miller, for that information.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Lingo contract proposal. I saw Paul Hollick on the line. I know we talked about this again last week. Paul, if you just wanted to do a brief just rundown of what this is. Paul?
Paul, you're muted.
All right, well, so what the Lingo contract is, it's what we were going off of with all the lines, the phone lines, and all the issues we've been having with AT&T. Paul's been working on this for a while, and I see he's unmuted now. So Paul, if you just wanted to go ahead.
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
There's a lot of feedback.
You got to turn one of them off somewhere, Paul.
Can you guys hear me okay now?
Yep, good to go. Floor's yours.
Am I clear?
Yeah, you're clear. Go ahead.
All right, cool. Great. So Lingo is an underlining carrier. They're a wholesale aggregate for AT&T. So basically, because of the amount of wholesale business that they conduct, they can reduce the price of AT&T services significantly. So we're going to see a 30 to 40% reduction in the 53 lines that we have, which is great. There is not a disruption in service at all. They assume the responsibility and the lines from AT&T, and then we just get a bill from them. So the other good thing is they'll be able to show us a utilization report to see activity or lack thereof on these lines. And their policy per this contract is we are allowed to cancel any lines without penalty as long as we leave one physical line at each of the locations. So that works out great.
All right, great. Are there any questions? No, all right. Seeing if there are any questions, is there a motion to approve this item?
I'm sorry, Alderman. I had a question. So for the phone line, Paul, would you be able to give us the person that these numbers are assigned to and the department?
That is correct. We will, once these lines are moved over to Lingo, we will be able to identify the locations. Are these lines being used or not? If there is not any utilization on any of these lines, we'll be able to track them down, see what they're tied to, and cancel. Some of what you're asking is for where we have human capital attached to a phone number. We ourselves, I can pull, or my phone guy, Matt, can pull those reports off the phone system, and we can go through and show you whose numbers are whose. Any type of numbers that are tied to the phone system, which are not reflected in the lingo contract, those numbers we pay all but a nickel for, and that is under First Communications, not AT&T. So there's two different types of telephone communication that we have in the city. We have telephone numbers that go to our phone system that we can have hundreds and hundreds of lines that ride 4 T1 lines from First Communications. We do not pay per line, we pay per the 4 T1 lines. And then we have AT&T, which are analog lines that we have that are running to all of our physical buildings. Those are the lines that will be converted to lingo, and we'll be able to reduce our bill significantly. And then even more so as we monitor the utilization reports.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, hi, this is Topeka. I have a question. Hey, Paul, can you tell me what the projected savings is?
It's 30 to 40% at least. So as you can see here, we have out of, on the lingo, there's, hold on 1 second. I believe there's 53 lines, and we will be paying roughly, it's quoted at $2,200 a month, and then plus tax. So we'll be right around under $3,000 with tax on these lines. And currently we're paying anywhere between 10, I would say with usage and stuff, between $9,000 and $12,000 a month on these 50 lines. So we're going to see a significant savings. And this is to explain the savings. AT&T does not want to be in the analog POTS line business any longer. So they have doubled and tripled the cost of analog copper lines. So that's just, they're not just doing this to the city of Blue Island, they're doing this to everybody across the entire AT&T infrastructure, the United States, so on and so forth. So other companies have stepped in like Lingo, Bullseye's another one, but their pricing wasn't as good, and Granite, and they're basically assuming responsibility for these lines. If there's an issue, they come out and do the repair, not AT&T, you know, so on and so forth. So that's why they're able to give a price that they can give, that we've seen here.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate the explanation.
Sure, not a problem.
I have a question, Alderman Donahue.
Yeah, go ahead, Alderman Bilotto.
Just to clarify, are you asking that we're removing all analog lines altogether?
Would you like me to answer that?
Paul?
Sure.
Yeah, Paul, can you answer
All right,
that?
sure. No, we're not removing any analog lines. So basically what's happening is right now we're paying AT&T for these 53 lines at a ridiculous rate. Lingo is assuming those lines from AT&T responsibility. We will no longer pay AT&T for these 53 lines. We will be paying Lingo at a greatly reduced price.
Okay.
So once we swap, which will take about 3 weeks or so to migrate over for their responsibility, Lingo then, once the migration is complete and under Lingo, they will be able to give us a report of usage after 45 to 60 days. And then we can look at, okay, not only have we reduced our costs for these 53 lines, are there any lines in these 53 that we're not using? And then Lingo gives us the right to cancel any of the lines that we're not using.
So my question is, with power outages and internet going down and stuff, do these lines are still maintained like analog lines where they're still live?
Correct. That is correct. Yep. Fax machines, these lines go to fax machines, they go to alarm lines, they go to just an analog, very, very basic, like old school when you, in your house and you had a phone line, you ran to your house from AT&T and you plug in a phone right to that line. That's what these are. This isn't fancy. You need Comcast equipment and your telephone hangs off of the Comcast router. The power goes out, and if the battery in the router dies, you don't have a phone. That is not this. These are true analog POTS lines that don't need electrical power.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right, any other questions? No? All right, is there a motion to approve item C, the Lingo contract proposal?
Alderman Johnson.
Alderman Johnson with the motion. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Alderman Bilotto. All right, seeing we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving this item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Paul, again.
Sure.
All right, moving on. Item D, request to bind coverage for fire department Alliant mobile vehicle program.
Yeah, so I can speak to that one. So this is a renewal, an insurance renewal contract for the vehicle assets for the fire department. There was a slight increase in the total cost of the contract. When I asked Tom, he's the Alliant representative, he said it's due to the increase in distracted drivers. So the increase in frequency in accidents has caused them to push down the expenses down onto their consumers. So we're seeing about a $500 increase in the cost from the last time when we renewed the contract. And so in the contract, they have the different assets that they want to insure, the deductibles, the values of it. And so we're basically asking the committee to approve us to be able to go ahead and sign the contract so that the assets can be insured.
Okay, thank you, Topeka. Any questions?
Yes, this is Alderman Johnson. Have we took any quotes from anyone else?
No, so this came on my table as a very pressing item. Apparently, the contract had been circulating for a while outside of my knowledge. And when it got to my desk, then it was like a time limit on it. They were looking to have it binded by July 1st. So I hadn't had any opportunity to do any other research. I just assumed that this was who we had been working with and we were comfortable with this contract.
Yeah, I was just wondering if we could have a savings because, you know, we had several other insurance companies come in for different things and never was giving the items they requested to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges in order to find a savings for us. So I was wondering if this one actually had, you know, if we had anybody else to come in that could probably even be cheaper than them, even with a better quality insurance. So I would like to kindly request to table this until we can look into some more insurance services.
Alderman Johnson, this is Kerry. The contract actually has to be renewed by July 1st. I don't know how much analysis Mesero did on behalf of the city, but what they generally do is they will go out to the various insurers that are interested in issuing these types of policies, which this is a vehicle policy for our major vehicles, such as our fire trucks and some of the other vehicles that the city's employees utilize. And they'll try to find the most reasonable premium with one of the better rated companies. Now, I don't know if they did that here because, as Topeka said, it came in at the last minute fairly quickly. But if you table it, you have to understand that it has to get back to the city council for approval before July 1st. That's when the current policy expires. I just wanted to point that out to you.
So actually, we're in a catch-22. But okay, I understand what you're saying, Kerry. But I would like to let the finance committee, as well as the chair and yourself, know that in future reference that we're trying to, of course, save money. That with all the insurances that's about to come up this year, that we have, you know, comparable pricing from other entities as well as just our same one every time.
And Alderman, again, this is Kerry Horvath.
I agree 100% with that. It's just apparently Mesereau submitted this just this past week. And as I said, I have no idea how much solicitation they did. They're generally very good about trying to find a quality company for the insurance they provide. But again, I agree with you 100% there that we should open it up a little bit further.
Okay, I just wanted to go on record to make sure that everyone heard that and that how we move further in the future.
All right, thank you for that. Any other questions? All right, is there a motion to approve item D, request to bind coverage for fire department Alliant mobile vehicle program? Anyone want to make a motion? I'll make the motion. Does someone want to second my motion?
I'll make a motion. Bilotto.
Bilotto with the second then. All right, there being a motion and second, all in favor of approving item D, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
All right, 3 ayes and 1 nay. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Okay, thank you, Topeka and Carrie, for the information on that. All right, moving on. Any other concerns from members of the committee? No, sir. Oh, go ahead, Dexter.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure that that we have ample time for making decisions, especially with things like now in the condition and times we are in right now, for cost saving and comparabilities. People getting the same, the same old people doing the same old things. We just have to make it compatible. As a city, with these, especially with savings, like you were, like we were saying, we always need to save money. And I guess I can say this other thing for tomorrow, because it really don't have anything to do with us totally as finance, but a little bit, because I think we have to vote on getting some construction done in the ward. And it was stated that Alvarez couldn't find any, any contractors that could do our crooked roads or crooked alleys or something, and we had to change it. But Kevin, I'm just standing on Blue Island being one of the oldest cities in the state of Illinois, and we are uniquely made. And I think we need to find somebody who can, be able to take care of that, to keep us uniquely made. And that's all.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Any other comments?
Alderman Donahue, I just have a question. If Eric's still on?
Yep, I'm still here. This is Eric.
Eric, I know it's not my ward, and I know there's at least one alderman on here now. What is the update with the faulty binding and asphalt going on over on Everett near Eisenhower?
Okay, Alderman Bilotto, again, this is Eric Alvarez, and talking about Edison and Francisco near Eisenhower High School. We've contacted Lindahl Brothers, the paving company. They've agreed to remove that entire layer of asphalt, re-prep as needed, that stabilized surface, properly spray it with asphalt prime, with bituminous prime coat, and then repave.
Okay. All right, good. And is the alderman of the ward being appraised of the situation?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else? If not, is there a motion to adjourn our meeting?
I'll make a motion. Bilotto.
Alderman Bilotto with the motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Alderman Alexander. All right. All in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. We are adjourned at 6:34 p.m. We will be back next Monday, June the 29th, 6 p.m.
All right, guys. See
All
you
right.
later.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a good week.